Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel with my first thoughts on the new film directed by Tommy Wirkola, Violent Night. Now, this is a movie that asks the question, what if Home Alone but R? Or what if Die Hard but Santa? And it does that pretty well. I'm a fan of Tommy Wirkola's films. I really like Dead Snow and the follow-up Dead Snow 2. Not as big on Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. I don't know if it really reaches the heights it's supposed to. It's fun enough, but it's not a great movie. Violent Night doesn't take full advantage of its idea, but it does a pretty good job, and I had a lot of fun watching it. The thing about it is that David Harbour was born to play some version of Santa, and this is probably the best version you could get David Harbour to play. Yeah, Santa has been disillusioned by all the kids who are just focused on, what they can take from Santa, what Santa will give to them if they're good or if they pretend they're good. And he arrives at a home that's being taken over in a home invasion. He is fantastic in this movie. And it's weird to say, but if they gave out Oscars for hardcore Santas, David Harbour would definitely be in conversation. The villain in the film is, I think, John Leguizamo, and he is basically been disillusioned by Christmas, and he's planning on taking this family for all they can and holding them hostage until he can get his cachet. John Leguizamo is awesome as a villain. He should be doing more villain roles, and he really isn't. But he should be doing as many as you can possibly get him to do, because the thing about Leguizamo is that he has this ability to be likable even when he's playing a monster. And that helps him in his likable characters, but it also really helps in his unlikable characters too, because you want to follow him and you almost are curious to see what he'll do if he succeeds. Outside of that, the rest of the villains are lacking a bit. They're a bit nameless, faceless. If we're going to make the Die Hard comparisons, which is unfortunately what we have to do because the film is very much a remake of Die Hard with Santa in a house instead of Nakatomi Plaza. So it does set itself up for comparisons, which is unfortunate because it's not as good as Die Hard. The villainous characters in Die Hard outside of Hans Gruber, all of them had personality, all the henchmen. This film doesn't really get there. They're good cannon fodder. They're good beat the shit out of them fodder. But they don't really reach the heights that the villain characters in Die Hard reach. As far as the family that's been taken hostage, that also can be true of most of them. I thought Beverly D'Angelo does a good amount of work as the matriarch of this family. She's wonderful in everything, but I think she's pretty solid here. And I think the little girl who communicates with Santa during the hostage situation, I think she's pretty darn good as well. And she has great chemistry with David Harbour, which is tough to pull off because there's a lot of time that they spend just talking to each other over walkie-talkies. But there is a believable connection between the two characters that works really well. The rest of the family are kind of dirtbags, and I think the idea is that they're supposed to be dirtbags, but it's tough to root for them because a lot of them aren't very fun. They're not really likable characters, and they're not interesting enough to make their dislikable qualities work. But the film doesn't require that. I would just say that it's a movie that, it kind of sold itself as being like from the guys that brought You Nobody and John Wick, like this style of movie with Santa. I don't think it really gets there. There's a lot of things I think this movie could have done better. But watching it, I had a lot of fun. And that's essentially what the movie is. I was a bit nervous because the opening joke of the film is a vomit joke, which never really works for me, and it didn't work here. But the rest of the film kind of picked up from there. I think the action scenes are pretty solid for what they're supposed to be. Again, I would have liked to have had more, but or kind of raise the stakes on it, because again, we're dealing in this fanciful nature, and I think there are some times when Santa's superpowers, if you will, get introduced, and they're there, and they can be really compelling in an action scene, and they do a little bit with it, but they don't do as much as they could. It's a lot of that in the film. There's a ton of you're doing great, kiddo, but you could be doing better. And I think that's the thing, is that on multiple rewatches, I'll probably get used to that fact. But first time getting out of the theater, I was thinking, you know what? I had fun. It is not as good of a movie as it could be or as it should be. It does not embrace the ideas that it's playing with well enough. But it does a fine enough job for me to recommend the film. It's a mixed bag leaning towards positive. And I think David Harbour, he carries a lot of the weight in this film, and he makes it a fun experience. John Leguizamo, infinitely disturbing as a villain, but he's also in this kind of quirky movie that he fits in really well. There's some stuff in here that works really well. There's just some other things that don't. And I think the positives do outweigh the negatives. So have you seen Violent Night? Let me know down in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this film. And maybe tell me, what's your favorite Tommy Wirkola film? Are you a fan of his Dead Snow films or Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters? Or is this your first time seeing a Wirkola film and now you've got to go check them out? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. And let me know also maybe what are the abnormal Christmas movies that you watch every year. For me, it's probably Krampus. It's one of the most abnormal Christmas movies that I always have to watch during Christmas holiday season. So let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts there. Please make sure to like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do. They help to support the channel immensely. You never miss new episodes of the show as they drop either. So you can check that out. You can find my written reviews on goatfilmreviews.com. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can also find me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can find my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Plodchuk in the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All those links are down in the description. We'll see you next time. Happy holidays.